Welcome to It's Personal, Not Just Business, with your host, Michael Fliegelman. In each episode, you'll learn lessons from other successful financial advisors and brokers. You can find this show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on swanwealth.com. Now here's the host of It's Personal, Not Just Business, Michael Fliegelman.
Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Michael Fliegelman. Welcome to our podcast. It's personal, not just business. Now, I started this podcast some time ago, and the name of it really says it all. You know, in the movie The Godfather, he said, it's business, not personal. Well, all the relationships that I've been fortunate to develop are all personal relationships. We work with people and they entrust us to their business and we develop relationships with these people. So I've never had any business relationships that really weren't personal. And my role in this is to introduce people that I know and care about so that they can benefit from sharing these podcasts with their friends, family, and clients. And today I have a dear friend of mine who I've known for probably over 20 years now, Mr. Dan Spagnolo. Welcome, Dan. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Michael. Yes, it's been 22 years. You're right.
22 years. And in that period of time, I have gotten to know Dan as being one of the most passionate and hardworking people. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got here? Um, Briefly introduce yourself, share your background or journey that led to where you are today.
That's an interesting question because, the first thing that comes to mind is, how is it that, I'm here? And if it wasn't for my parents, who were Italian immigrants, I'd never be here. Mom and dad both born in Italy, sister born in Rome. And as many immigrants had done at that time, especially Italians, they went to South America or to Canada as an easier route to get to the United States. So in my case, parents went to Argentina, have a sister born in Brazil, and not Brazil, in Buenos Aires. And then dad came to the States, landed in Queens, got, got an apartment, got a job, learned to speak the language. The girls came over, I don't know, I guess a year or two later. And then I was born in Queens. So if it wasn't for that migration or immigration over, I would have never been here. And, grew up in Queens and then moved to Long Island. And, I've had a couple of different careers. So the financial services is not my first career. I started in 99, and that's when I met you. And then got contracted in May of 2000. So it's been a journey, and the professions that I had previously, I guess, gave me the roots to what I'm doing now and the success that I'm experiencing now.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. It's so interesting. Yeah, I've known you for 22 years, but I never knew that story.
Oh,
And about your Italian immigrants. This is a country of immigrants. My father came here when he was 6 weeks old from Poland, came here steerage class through Ellis Island. And there's one thing that popped out in my mind when you said that, Dan, is that when I knew you, when we first got started, I saw that passion to succeed, that passion to serve. And it's really directly related to the immigrant mentality. People who come
absolutely.
to this country, they come here with fire in their eyes to live the American dream. And that, I could see the DNA from your parents and how that had impacted you. And, getting started in the business of financial planning and money management, which I know you do so well, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to build business. It's a challenge from compliance. It's a challenge from marketing and developing, expertise and so on. And I knew from the beginning that you were going to do whatever it took. And I think that that's to a great extent because of who your family is and the DNA that you have. So
I agree. I
pretty
agree.
pretty neat stuff. Share with me a little bit about what inspired or motivated you to go down this path. You said I think when I got to meet you, you were working in the food and beverage business, and then you made this change some 23 years ago to go down this path. What?
Yeah, if I would have known years ago about enjoying this profession and how I would be helping people, I probably would have done it sooner. So when I got out of school, I worked in the down in Wall Street in the commodities and foreign exchange industry from about 1980, early 80s to 1992, when my son was born. He was born in 91 November. So a little after he was born, the industry had changed a lot of mergers, some other personal things had happened in my health. So wound up leaving Wall Street. And at that time, my then spouse was home with one older daughter, and then my son, who was just born. And she stayed home, and I wound up working at her family's business, which was in the coffee industry. So, knowing the commodities industry, I thought that I would be able to apply some of that knowledge in buying green beans, at favorable times to buy low and save money. And being an entrepreneurial type of person, I also took on the role of sales manager. So worked with her family business for about 7 years and enjoyed it, but after a while missed the financial world and realized that there's a lot of complexity in working with a family business when you're not the bloodline, when you're married into the business. So put my resume out there to see what it would yield, or what would come back. And everyone who contacted me was in the financial services industry. I remember one interview I went to was the group called Money. I don't know if they're still in existence, but that was the type of response I was getting. And then a friend of a friend said to me, well, they knew someone that worked at an insurance company. So I said, okay. I took a chance. I made an appointment with Joe, and we kind of hit it off, and then started to transition from the position that I was working at in the family business, and got my licenses and got some experience and some business under my belt. And then and that was in 99. And then by May of 2000, figured I had a few things in the mill. I got some experience, had passed a few of the exams, and pulled the trigger and got contracted with Guardian in May of 2000. So I think it was the fact that I missed the financial world. I wanted to have my own destiny in my hands, my entrepreneurial spirit, and meeting good people like you and Joe and the other people that I worked with for so many years at Guardian.
Excellent. Great stuff. I think about your journey, and it's great when you go through the chronology of what happened in your life, because I know the experience of working in a family-run business shapes who you are and how valuable you can be to those clients that are running a family-owned business and might have a similar fact pattern of what's going to happen to this business when mom and dad are gone. Are they going to give it to the children equally? Are they going to give it to the daughter who's married to the person who's really running the business? And all of those complexities that you dealt with working in a family business. So I'm sure that experience adds tremendous value to what you do in consulting with these people who have small, closely held businesses, which I happen to know from years of working with you, that's a big part of your market, working with business owners and entrepreneurs and
Yep.
helping them with their retirement and asset management. So can you share a little bit about your company now, how it's structured, what the favorite types of clients that you like to work with? Is it, business owners? Is it doctors? Is it lawyers? So that people get an idea of, what you do and who you do it for.
That's a good question. And as you mentioned, yes, I like working with closely held businesses because typically the business owner is operating the business. They're working in the business, but they don't have time to put some of the strategies in force. And that's where I would come in and analyze the insurance component. If there are partners involved, they have insurance on each other. Do they have a shareholders agreement? Do they have a retirement plan? So I like working with business owners, and the pillars of my practice now, I would have to say, are the majority of our practice is focused on retirement plans and managing wealth. It also the second pillar would be insurance, making sure people have insured themselves for their value and taking care of the situation if they became disabled. So that would be the second pillar of the practice. Most recently, I've been getting involved with a lot of alternative investments, and the sector that I'd like to put more focus on going forward is working in the real estate market with like-kind exchanges, 1031s. So our broker dealer and the platform I have available has sponsors that have these products that are solutions for 1031s. They're called DSTs, Delaware Statutory Trust 1031s. So I like that area, and I'm focusing a lot of my attention on that. And then the fourth pillar, being the comprehensive planning and doing an overall review. So that's the majority of our practice here and how it's broken down.
Excellent. Could you share with the listening audience how people would get in touch with you, your website, phone number, if somebody wanted to give you a call, run something by you, ask you a question, etc.?
Sure. Well, we do have a website. Recently changed the company who created our website and who supports it and helps us with marketing materials. So we work with a company called FMG now, and our website is the same web address, but now it's a different company who's packaged the whole thing. And the website is www.dynamicfinancialny.com. And my email address is the same tag end. So it's dan@dynamicfinancialny.com. And our office line is still the same, even though we're located in Huntington, which is a 631 area code. Our phone number is a 516 area code. It's 516-822-7526. So because we've moved in various office spaces, but we kept all the same contact information. And, I've always tried to use our business name in our email address as opposed to deferring to the insurance company that we may be working with or the broker dealer or whoever it may be.
Sure.
We want people to know who we are.
Absolutely. And I think most importantly, from my perspective, there's an old saying I learned very early in my career that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And Dan, you know a lot. You've been doing this for some 23 years or so. But I think more powerful than how knowledgeable you are on concepts, pensions, investments, 1031 exchange, and the like, I think your real passion and benefit to help people is really what sets you apart. You care. So that saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, I think is really indicative of who you are. And I imagine that, like me, many of the clients that you have developed long-term relationships, for you, it's personal, not just business as well.
Absolutely. I tend to establish a relationship on a personal level with our clients, understanding their family dynamic. I share my family dynamic. I'm proud of my family, my 3 children. So typically, my clients know about my personal life, and I know about theirs. And I think that that's the bond that we have. That um, I like to know who my clients are, and I'm happy to share about my life.
Yeah, I know that you're also have some really significant interests outside of your business. I've been itching to take you up on your offer to go out fishing, and I know that this week we rescheduled this so that you could go and catch some big tuna fish. And I imagine you probably had some friends or family or clients on the boat at some point in time catching those big tuna fish. Share with us a little bit about your outside the business life and what you enjoy doing and how that sometimes overlaps into your business world, Dan.
Well, I don't play golf, so I have a boat and I fish. So I invite people to come and entertain them on the boat because I'm not going to the golf course. I'm sorry. I tried that, never worked for me. I bought a set of clubs, wound up giving it to a very good friend of ours that we have in common, and so this is what I enjoy doing because I've been fishing since I was a little kid. My father would take me all the time. We'd go on Sundays to Captree. Meanwhile, we still lived in Queens, and we would go on Sundays and fish on those boats. And I remember going over the bridges as you get to Captree and seeing the boats. And I said, one of these days, I'm going to have a boat. So since I've been an adult, I've had various boats. And so yesterday, there was an opportunity because the weather was good and the fish are biting. So I had someone to come with me because it's no fun going out by yourself and it's not safe. So I postponed our meeting, which was supposed to be yesterday, and we fished off of Block Island. It was a long run. And I tell you, I am hurting this morning because I am exhausted. And our trip was 75 miles there and 75 miles back, plus fishing all day, staying in the sun. I didn't personally bring in any tuna, although I did fight one. But occasionally the hook pulls out of their mouth or whatever may happen. So I lost the one I was fighting, but we did bring in one nice tuna, about 125 pounds, and there were 4 of us on the boat, so we split the meat. And tonight I'm gonna have some bluefin tuna.
Beautiful.
And and I like to invite people who both have experience, so this way we can try to catch some fish, and people who don't have experience, and I can introduce a little bit to them on how you catch a fish and things that you do. And so that's one of my passions: being out on the water, being in the outdoors. So yeah, we had a good day yesterday. It was a long day though. It's a long trip, and the weather coming back was perfect. So we were able to make some time on the way back. But getting there in the morning was a little bit slow because we were heading into the wind and the waves.
And I assume when you do these fishing runs, you start like at the crack of dawn, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And then it's not only that; it's the night before getting everything ready.
Yeah, it's a
The
big
rod,
job.
the ice, because if you're going to get a tuna, you have once you do all of the things in preparing it after you've caught it, you've got to ice it. So there's a lot of work the night before and getting everything ready and picking up last minute things. So it's a hard job, but it's a labor of love.
Absolutely. So it's not just that you're going to educate people on asset allocation, pension plans, and retirement. They also get like homemade sushi potentially in the long run as well. That's exciting. Dan, can you share any great stories of things that you've overcome or lessons that you've learned in your life that you think our listening audience might be interested in?
Well, I mean, the road was never smooth when I started the industry. So in '99 I started, and then shortly thereafter we had 9/11. So I remember being in the Guardian office a couple of days after 9/11, and I said to myself, well, I don't know if I'm going to be in business for much longer because we didn't know what was going to happen. And and I said, well, whatever happens, happens. But that was a bit of a feeling of uncertainty because we didn't know where the financial markets would be or what was going to happen after 9/11. So that was the first challenge that I experienced in getting into the industry. And I remember that morning I had an appointment out further out east from where I live, and I believe I was supposed to be at the person's house about 9:30, and I get there and I ring the doorbell, or maybe it was slightly after 9:30. I ring the doorbell and no one's there, and I call and no one's answering, and I said, okay, well, they might have forgotten, and I don't know what happened. So now I'm driving back, and at that time I was listening to not podcasts, but I was listening to cassettes of motivational speaker Tony Robbins and Deepak Chopra and whoever it may be.
Sure.
So in my free time when I was traveling in the car, I would pop in a cassette, not listening to the radio. I had no idea what happened. So I got to my next appointment, and they said, "Did you hear what happened?" I said, "No, I didn't hear. I've been in the car. I had a tape on. I didn't hear." And they put the TV on, and they showed me that the planes had hit and what happened, and I was like totally shocked. So that was a big challenge getting past that first couple of years.
Sure.
It's always a challenge meeting new people. And I remember when I left the coffee industry, I had a lot of restaurant owners that I thought I should be able to get some business from them because they knew me, they knew the type of person I was. So I thought that would be a good source of me starting to build my client base. As it turned out, restaurant owners are not typically very good planners, don't typically do retirement plans, and sometimes don't stay in business very long. So the natural market that I thought I had resulted in nothing. And I'm saying, like, okay, well, now where am I going to bring in business from? Because here I'm thinking all these restaurant owners were going to give me an opportunity to do some business. So that didn't pan out. But those were the first two challenges I remember, those first few years after getting into business.
Excellent. Thank you. How do you stay motivated and continue to grow in this very, very challenging field, Dan?
That's a good question. And, like everyone else, I'm human. There are times that I'm like, don't want to, do what I'm doing because, it's hard to stay motivated. There's so many things in life that distract you. I'm very lucky. I have 3 children and don't have, never had any issues with them in their early years, but, I've had some health issues myself. So when you go through any particular health circumstance, it kind of brings down your motivation to do what you're doing. But I found the two things that motivate me when I'm lacking motivation is one when I listen to an educational presentation, whether it be a podcast or back in the days listening to cassettes or going to a seminar. I always my screen just went black. That's weird. Okay.
Yeah, it probably timed out. Yeah.
Yep, timed out. Okay, there you are. You're back. I've never experienced that before recently. So when I go to these seminars, it kind of rejuvenates me and gives me ideas, and I go back with kind of a refreshed motivation. So I like to do these type of self-improvements or product, awareness seminars or whatever. And that kind of helps motivate me because I get ideas, I hear what other people are doing, and I'm like, I could do that. So, and it gets me back on track. So that's one thing that I typically like.
I got to add to that a little bit. I think part of the reason that you stay motivated is because of your parents and what your DNA has inside. It has part of them because you only fail when you give up. And I know you. We've had this conversation. And in the great words of the late Jim Valvano, who's done some amazing speeches, the coach from Iona College, and I think it was, I forgot the other college, NC State, North Carolina State, when he was dying of cancer. He started a foundation called the Jimmy V Foundation, and it's really about never, ever, 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 ever. And he goes on with many more evers. Give up, because you only fail when you give up. And I know that your dedication to your clients, to your family, to your loved ones is something that no matter what roadblocks are put in front of you, and I've seen some significant ones, you will overcome them because you're of the mindset of never to give up. And that's why I really enjoy working with you. I know that you have a good heart. Your heart is in the right place, and you do great work for your clients. Is there anything going on in the world of Dan Spagnolo and Dynamic Financial that's exciting? Any new projects, anything happening in your business? You shared a little bit about your work with the 1031s, personal or business. Any projects that are exciting you? Last time I had one of our brokers on, and he was telling me he's starting a movie business where he finds people that are disenfranchised and tells their story. And I thought that was really interesting for people to know about him. I know that there's many things that you are involved in. I'm curious if there's anything that's really exciting for you that you want to share.
Well, I mean, the area that we're really trying to focus on now is the real estate area with these solutions that we have, and I've been networking a lot and participating with groups that are focused towards the members being in the real estate industry, and me not being in that industry. I come in as an associate member, but I have these solutions. So I've been spending a lot of time networking with real estate people in the real estate industry, whether they are real estate attorneys, real estate brokers, whether it's groups that I participate in. One is called CIBS, Commercial Industrial Broker Society. I've been a member of that for several years. The other one is LICN. And, these groups are made up primarily of people in the real estate industry and primarily, brokers and supporting services. So, I'm continuing to work on that, and we've had some success, and we're looking to grow that area. So that's probably the first exciting thing that's come to mind. And recently, as I'm getting to that age that I'm on the back nine. I'm thinking about the future and a succession plan. And being that I recently changed broker dealers about a year and a half ago, I don't know all of the other advisors at this broker dealer that I'm affiliated with, which is Kingswood Capital Partners. And I'm trying to familiarize myself with them. And I've connected with two that are younger than myself. And we're trying to figure out ways that we can do joint work together to get to know each other and to share a client base of doing that business together. And eventually, I'm talking 5 years down the road, that would be my succession plan, that they would, at that point, know my clients. We've done some business together, and they would take over my practice. But I would still keep my foot in the water in that I want to work, keep myself active, but at a lesser pace,
Sure.
and not as many days, so it can keep me in the game. But that's something that I've been working on. I think is exciting because it'll give me an opportunity to continue to grow the business over the next 5 years. Have a succession plan that someone knows my clients and they know this person, so it'll be a successful transition, and then move to the next phase of my life, which is enjoying my grandchildren, traveling a little bit more, but still working and keeping in touch with my clients and doing what I like to do, which is being in front of the clients instead of being in front of the paperwork.
Sure, absolutely. Well, that's great. I appreciate you sharing. There's two groups of people that would benefit from a relationship with Dan. People in the real estate business that want to learn about concepts in financial planning and estate planning that Dan can help you with, or 1031 planning, and financial advisors that are looking to potentially match up with a senior advisor. One of the biggest things that the regulatory agencies are concerned about these days does a guy my age or Dan's age, I'm a little bit older, or I think I am, or about.
No, I think I'm a little older than you.
Okay, well, we don't need to share that with the public, but we're certainly on the back nine, as you
Yeah,
said.
we're on the back nine.
Yeah. That they want to make sure that there is a succession plan in place so that the clients that we have a fiduciary responsibility to will continue to get service in continuity. So not only is it a responsibility of us when we're acting as a financial advisor to make sure that your clients, the clients out there have continuity in their business, but we need to, do that ourselves. So if you are a great financial advisor and you are looking to work with an amazing person in Dan, give him a call. Let him know that you might be somebody willing to affiliate with him and, potentially have an opportunity to benefit from the years of work Dan has spent developing these clients. Dan, we're kind of like, almost out of time. I just wanted to always ask, I always end my calls with my guests with, is there any specific message or idea that you'd like to convey to people who might be listening?
That's a tough question, because, typically I try not to suggest things unless I know someone, because I've gotten myself into trouble with my kids when I suggest things that I shouldn't be suggesting. But
Yeah, I understand about unintended consequence, but it
yes,
doesn't have to be about telling, but it could be more about, philosophy about business, philosophy about investments,
hmm
things that you want people to know about if they're considering a relationship with a financial advisor like you.
okay. Well, the first thing that I'd have to say is to go into the meeting with an open mind, and maybe put aside the fact that, you're, as a client, you're also intelligent and you may know how to do some things. And I see all too many people trying to do it yourself. But come in with an open mind, listen to other options and ideas, and and see and compare them to what you presently have, and see if there's a better solution. Because all too many times I meet with people, and and they're, instead of it being a dialogue, it's a monologue, and all they're doing is saying what they've done, and they're not listening to new ideas. So I mean, that would be the first thing, is to go in with an open mind. And even though you think you may have everything in place, and that your present advisor or your consultant has done everything, it doesn't mean that they've captured every idea. So I'd
Absolutely.
have to say that would be the first and foremost advice that I would give someone looking to work with a financial advisor, is to listen and look at all different options. um,
That's an amazing one. It reminds me of a case I worked on for many years, and the client was a well-seasoned, very, very successful gentleman who had, in-house attorneys. He worked for a large retail company, and he had, attorneys and advisors and accountants. And he said, "What are you going to do for me?" And within a few minutes of meeting with him, I demonstrated his inside of his present situation with some big gaps.
mhm.
We all have blind sides. And, my wife used to drive a Toyota Prius. I never enjoyed driving it because it had a huge blind side. And our job as financial advisors, and I know you do this really well, is help people get familiar with what they're missing. And I think that for anybody who is open minded to a financial planning relationship would benefit from a relationship with Daniel Spagnolo. Dan, it was a real pleasure to meet with you today. Any final
Likewise,
thoughts
Mike.
before we end this podcast?
Say that again.
Any final thoughts before we conclude?
Well, we know each other a while, and I have to say that you have been one of my mentors, in when I got involved in this business. And I remember a lot of the good things that I learned from you and several of the other people in that agency. And I'll never forget, and I still have this quote on my wall, which is the Calvin Coolidge persistence. And I got that from you. And I've shared that with many people that I know, both, someone who's been in business and younger people who, need to hear those type of things and encourage them. Those are things that were very important, our relationship and the things that I've learned from you. So I have to thank you, Mike.
Well, it's a real pleasure. It's personal, not business. And that saying from Calvin Coolidge, I think, is the most important characteristic of successful people. And if you're interested in learning about that quote, I would send Dan an email to Dan@dynamicfinancialnewyork.com.
ny.com.
And he will send to you the quote from Calvin Coolidge. And it's something that my mother had a framed piece of art with that saying on, and I used to keep it over my desk. And
I have it right here to the left, it framed right up on my wall. And every once in a while, when the motivation gets a little low, I look at that and try to remember and just, plug away. So absolutely, Mike. I appreciate it.
Dan, this was great. I wish you peace, health, continued success in all your endeavors. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and the same to you, Mike. And we'll speak soon, I'm sure.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
All right.
You've been tuning into It's Personal, Not Just Business, with your host, Michael Fliegelman. Each episode features role models and lessons from other successful financial advisors and brokers. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.